Hello, my name is Tim Fahey. I'm with Dirigo Agency. I'm your host today for the Mastermind for Business Owners. Today's topic is how to use ChatGTP to develop your marketing program. So let's get started. Here we're going to start by asking a few questions about how people are using ChatGTP and what they think they're going to get out of this.
Explain to somebody how bonds work, you know?
I do a lot of LinkedIn. That's worked very well for me. And sometimes I feel like my messaging gets stale. So I was looking for, to see if it said something different.
So client development stuff.
Exactly.
No. So how about you, Glenn? What are you using it for?
Yeah, so we haven't really implemented it outside of playing around with it where, I'll 2 years later, I haven't been able to explain our business in 15 seconds, right? Which is what everybody tells me I need to do. And I'm not sure, but it's been more like, hey, a little bit more like explain X, like something technical about our business, prepaid debit, right? Or, or giving or something. So I'm trying to take more definitions that would be easily explained and putting it in communication with either prospects or whoever we're dealing with at the moment. So, but we haven't taken it to the level where we're actually really using it. And that's something that I want to do next year.
Okay. Well, good. Well, I mean, there's two more people coming in here. Okay. There's Dan and Richard. Hi, guys. How you doing? So, Richard, I know you, and Dan, I know you as well. So, I don't know if you know the rest of the group, Glenn and Daniel here.
Yeah, hey, Dan.
We're just getting started. They were just talking about their experience with ChatGTP. It's mostly been, dabbling with it. And so, how about you, Dan? Have you dabbled with it, or have you used it extensively, or what level are you at?
I think you're talking to me, right?
Yes.
Okay. Two Dans on the call.
Oh, that's true. His is Daniel, so I must be a little less formal with you.
Yes. I'm not going to say I use it on extensively, but for some of the things I write, I like to stick it into responses and to see what comes out and then edit it the way I like it. For some of the websites that I do, I've used it for some coding, which is kind of cool because I have zero formal training in coding, but if I give it a good enough prompt, it spits out what I need. And actually, it's helped me learn that that's how to code for some of the like WordPress websites and that kind of stuff that I've done. And then for social media, yeah, they use it whenever I'm running any kind of campaigns for ideas. It definitely helps in the creative process.
Great. Yep. So I appreciate the feedback because maybe Dan, at one point you could actually kind of show us your little routine for the coding. I like that because I've played with it, but I haven't done anything with it. But I like that idea. What we're going to cover today is a bit more formal, how to get the best out of the content that we can get out. And one of the things is somewhat of a kind of a branding dream because much of the content that branding folks go through are things like value propositions and very formal types of writings to be able to touch on things like what the problem is, not only what the problem is, but how it agitates people, and also what the solution is. It's an acronym for PAS. There's also ways you can actually use this for editing, and one of the things that I found out mostly is that if you can create outlines from this, and then use those outlines after you've edited them, that creates the body copy as well. So we're going to get into that. So first, we're going to start off with the kinds of brainstorming approaches that we could take. In the blue, these will be the text that we actually put into ChatGTP, and we're going to get results from it. So we're going to start off with trying to create an outline. And I'm going to say, give me 20 unique article titles related to childcare and a clickbait style. After we get the unique article titles related to childcare, we're going to also then take one of them, which begins with the incredible sleeping trick, and ask it to create the actual outline of the article. And just to speed things up, I went ahead and pre-made some of the ChatGTP Q&A and getting the answers. So here's how we started. Give me 20 unique articles related to your childcare in a clickbait style. And the reason why it's a clickbait style, not to persuade somebody in a negative way, but really because of this is a certain style. So good. So here we are. It says, sure, here are 20 clickbait style article titles to childcare. And so you could see any number of these could be of good use for us to use as a title. But we're going to take the one that says an incredible sleeping trick that will transform your child's nightmare routine. And we're telling ChatGTP to write as a professional childcare expert and write it for young moms. So we've identified the demographics. So we're going to copy this outline right here, the incredible sleeping trick. We're going to copy it and paste it into the ChatGTP prompt area, like so. Once we paste it into the prompt area, it says message ChatGTP. It'll give us the headline, the introduction, the understanding of the importance of consistent behaviors, the common struggles as an outline. So we're going to choose one of those next. So getting started in the process, you want to make sure when you write these things, you want to approach it like, here is where you're coming from at, and here's who you're writing it for. You don't really want to come across like a term paper or white paper in an omnipresent view. You want to create a level of expertise and authority about it. So secondly, here we're starting with an outline. We're not writing the whole article yet because it gives you the framework, right? And now it's time to spot things that don't belong in it, which you need to be able to edit these things out and add things in. Particularly if you're an expert in these areas, you can actually add your own kind of anecdotal parts. So talk to it like if it's a real person. Okay, now that we have the outline, now we want to write the article. See how in blue here, we're going to copy and paste all this into the message area in ChatGTP. And so we want to make it friendly, tone, add a personal anecdote, and then illustrate the point. So after we pasted it into the managed ChatGTP, we have this wonderful article here. It starts off with the title. Of course, you'll take out the word title. But then it starts off with, hey there, tired but determined moms? You might want to take that out. It's a little funny. So you might want to just start off, if you're anything like me, because it's very personable, you're probably experienced the bedtime battles that can leave you both and your little ones feeling exhausted. So we have the article here. So it has the outlines, it has the full body of the copy. So go through this, take it out of here, put it into the Word document, edit it, and then move on to the next step. So what does the next step look like? Well, honestly, all you have to do, instead of having to write out fully the whole thing, just write on there, write out, now write step 2. Just as a quick recap, you want to make sure you replace their stories with your own stories. You want to make it personal. You want to make it sound like a real person. Copy and paste in Google Docs, fix the factual errors, and then just go section by section. So the second part of this, because see, it's one thing to be able to create your content. It's another now to, kind of round out your entire marketing program, because you'll want to inform people about your blog or your article, and it could also take the form of video, short form video, which can be used for TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and Facebook, and even in Pinterest, and also Pinterest and even LinkedIn. So for instance, for someone like, say, a wedding photographer, let's suppose that we shift gears here a little bit, and you want to have here's the process for what a wedding photographer would do. They might say, help me brainstorm 10 topics for Instagram reels that I could make for my wedding photography business. They need to speak to brides in the process of planning their weddings. And so we'll take that copy, which is, I have it in blue, and I'm going to go to the ChatGTP area here. And so here it is. Absolutely. Here are 10 topics for Instagram. Behind the scenes wedding photo shoot. Show snippets of your process from preparing the gear to capturing candid moments during a photo session, giving brides an insight into your professional approach. So that's one. Here's another one, tips for picking the perfect wedding venue. Short, snappy tips on what brides should consider when selecting their dream wedding venue, covering aspects of lighting, ambiance, and photo opportunities. So on and so forth. So you have all that. So the idea here is to make sure you give context to what you're talking about. Speak to the demographics, the target demographics, and then and do the same thing as we talked about before. Copy what you created and put them in a spreadsheet, like a Google Docs or a Word doc, and go one by one, and then you write the scripts from there. So, for instance, the next thing you could do is say, for instance, you could say, write a 15 to 30-second how to create a wedding day timeline for perfect photos with no intros or outro, because you just want to get right to it. You can prioritize unique and actionable tips because there's a lot of stuff out there that's pretty much the same. If you get something that's more unique, people are going to pay attention to it. They'll see, if they've been reading out there trying to do the research, what everybody else is saying. You want to be able to stand out from the crowd a little bit. And then write in a high energy, fun, casual tone. So you put this copy, in the ChatGTP. So simply copy the new text, the blue text, into ChatGTP messaging dialog box, and you'll come up with the answer we were looking for. So here's what ChatGTP gave us from that bit of copy. Starts off, all right, wedding warriors, time to nail that picture-perfect day. First up, golden hour alert. Schedule those photos when the sun's painting the sky for that magical glow. Quick tip, hair and makeup hustle. Extra time means no stress for those glam shots. Okay, for a couple of more tips, like for instance, if you wanted to rewrite that article and say not to have an intro or an outro, go ahead and rewrite it. And if you have some additional tips you want to put in there, ask them to include that. In addition, the whole idea is to get right to the point, particularly for short form video or blogs, and keep it a casual tone for yourself. Add your own tips. And also, if you want to go on to the next one, do the same for destination wedding photography, but no emojis. So go ahead and add that into the copy it, and you're going to paste it right into the message area for ChatGTP, like this, and then hit return, and you'll see what it comes up. See how quickly it comes up with it. So there you have it. We've gone over how to create content for blogs, and videos, and social media. Now we're all going to move on to email marketing. The interesting thing about email marketing that's different from content or social media is that you really want a two-step process. Gary Vee, in his book, Jab, 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 Right Hook, suggests that it means that you send out 3 helpful emails before you send one promotional one. So the jab emails is use what you've used already, give them good content. Here's why they created this thing, and here's why they should read it and watch it or listen to it. So the whole idea is to kind of create some intrigue, not give everything away. Okay, let me give you an example. Here's what you want to ask ChatGTP, as if you're talking to somebody. And this has to do with moving a moving company wanting to move their pets. Why would a pet owner about to go through a move want to watch a video about moving with pets, how to keep your furry friends safe and happy during a move? So ChatGTP, when you plug this in, will give you a statement, an email that would be conducive to that particular message. So let's go ahead and copy this line, which is in blue. Just go ahead and triple click on it and copy. Let's take it over to the ChatGTP window and paste it in the message chat, and I'll hit return. And here's what ChatGTP is going to come up with. In startling speeds: safety precautions, reducing stress, preparing pets, managing anxiety, behavioral guidance, post-move adjustment, and so on and so forth. So what you would probably want to do next is to take and write an email to families about to move, letting them know that I made this video and why they should watch it. You make it short and to the point, fun, personable, and tone. And you could even use people's celebrity styles like Oprah and maybe Alex Hormozy, which is interesting because if you give it that kind of humor or that kind of flavor or that kind of style, they can actually build that into the messaging side, which is really a big feat that you would be able to, couldn't do necessarily on your own, but maybe with a copywriter. So, and then beyond that is, and don't give anything away, build intrigue so that people want to watch and see what this is all about. And that's a really important tip too, in terms of trying to create the leads that you would want to come through to your website or your video or your blog, is that you want to make it more intriguing and even tell ChatGPT not to give all the details away, but just to, build up their curiosity. So those are the kinds of things that, really help make this whole process work. And you can even, at the very end say, great, give me 10 intriguing subject lines. Really good lines are important for even with emojis. So that's the kind of the guts of what we have going on right now, with using ChatGTP with the kind of prompts and the outlines and things that we might want to go about doing. So did any of that did that resonate with you? Do you think that helps a little bit? I know it's a lot in a short amount of time, and without the whole process. I can't hear you, Glenn. You're muted.
Oh, sorry about that. I don't know what everybody, I mean, it's just an amazing tool. The question ends up being, right. So the fact of, Dan Campos earlier was talking about he wants something kind of fresher to create on outreach, right? So this is just, it's almost limitless on what you can sort of come up with. And I think it's a great idea, right? The question is implementing it into the business on an ongoing systematic way, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. So any other things that you got out of that you didn't know about before, or?
Yeah, I found it really interesting is the tone of the message, right? User friendly, mom or dad, that kind of thing. I thought that was really very great, really interesting capability. And it's not just robotic like that, like it kind of feeds into the emotion of the purchase, right? Buying on emotion.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I on that note, because I don't know if you've read any of these newsletters that come out sometimes. They're kind of financial newsletters, and they have a real whimsical tone to it. And I don't know if you've seen any of those out there, but they take on that kind of tone, which is so lively and it's readable and it's fun. And it must be a tough thing to try to pull off, when you're trying to write it yourself. But if you can use something like this to test out, it might engage your audience, particularly things that are kind of dry. I can't remember the one that I used to read all the time. I used to send it to some of my friends because I thought it was so good. But you might want to experiment with that. So the next thing I want to show you. So Dan, anything in there that you, Dan, Beltway merchant guy. Um, did you catch anything there that you didn't know, or that you like? Do you want to try yourself?
Yeah, I do most of that stuff already. Maybe the only thing I'd add is that you know, I think it can go both ways. So like we're prompting the ChatGPT to give us some type of response, give us some type of ideas. But at the same time, a lot of what I use it for also is for editing. So I'll write something, I'll put it into it, and then I'll prompt it to edit, to reformat the email or the message that I'm writing in a more whimsical manner, like you had said, or as if I was speaking to someone that doesn't have the industry knowledge that I do, so that it's something, especially with my banking background, um, a certain language that people in the financial industries may use may not translate to someone that isn't. So we kind of at times, and I'm sure Daniel understands this too, like we can't speak in our language very often. We have to really make sure that it's understandable for everybody else. So that I've had it help me with that before. But I'll stick an email into it and say, edit this email with a more with more explanation, and then it'll spit
Right.
something out right, and I'll read through it and I'll edit it, of course, to the way I like it. But it does help give feedback in what I write, and that's it's one of the main things I use it for.
Okay, yeah, I've used that quite a bit for editing as well. Because I have a client that has a hard time making decisions of what he wants to do, but he does talk a lot about his sales process and why his better, that why what they're doing is far better than anybody else. So I use that and use different techniques. And even at one point I thought, okay, have you ever listened to NPR? Any of the stories on NPR? You know how they're very engaging. They're all audio, almost like a podcast with sound effects. So
Like
I
the original
took kind of the
podcast.
body. I'm sorry, what?
They're like the original podcast.
Oh yeah, well, they have a lot of variety of audio discussions that they have, and storytelling. So their storytelling is really good. So one day I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to take that storytelling tone and approach and to actually mix it into what he's doing. And so I took I put lots of body information about their value proposition, what they did, all the different things in the actual context of it all, and asked ChatGTP to read it and to remember it. And then I asked to use the NPR style for interview, and it came out so well. I mean, the actual script was great. So I think became a really good opportunity for me, but to be able to then translate it into getting the voiceovers, get voice actors, and also even getting the client himself to speak. So I thought so I have the body already set up, or I haven't actually executed the entire thing, but I found that to be useful. In addition,
I think that one of the useful things is that we subconsciously will write in a way to target our audience in a certain way. And like you're explaining here with the NPR style, you're like, I'm going to write an email in an NPR style, and you're doing that subconsciously. If we as users of this platform can verbalize that, we'll say, into the prompt, it will spit it out, the result that we're probably looking for, like you just said. But it's getting, for me, the tough part I have is getting over the subconscious thing of not prompting it correctly or the way I want it to. And you almost have to be pretty detailed in the prompt,
exactly.
how you want it to come out. So sometimes when I go to the platform, I have to really think, how do I want this thing to write? And I have to say that in the prompt to get it to come out correctly, in the editing or in the creating side. So for me, that's the biggest hurdle I have with it. It's getting over that subconscious non-verbalization of the prompt.
Right. Oh, I agree 100%. Well, good. Well, that really leads really into what I wanted to show you next, because this is the prompt, you know, piece that I wanted to give you. So this one is really pretty much the introduction to this kind of a starter kit. And the whole idea here is to talk about how to create the attention-getting headlines and things you want. So for instance, this particular approach would be, what are some powerful or evocative words associated with whatever your products or service is, okay? And why is this? Some words drive more actions than others. So we want to start with some of the best ones that will elicit positive emotional response and more conversion. So this is one of the, you know, simple prompt approaches right here. You can just put this in the brackets here, put it in whatever your whatever product or service is. So there's two approaches here too. This is an offer that's solving a problem, or is it just satisfying a desire? Some cases it might be both, but problem solving is generally more compelling if you need a tiebreaker, depending on what you decide, and use the following prompts. So here's one here, this prompt. This is about maybe doing Facebook or Instagram ads. What problems do your product or service, what problem does, say, Dan's point of sale services offer to solve for its customers? And who are your customer demographics? You know, it might be first-time home buyers. It can be, you know, people who have purchased products from me before. So that would be a particular problem. The desire one would be, what desires does your product solve for its customers? And then you can identify who the demographics would be here. So that's another approach. So there's some other commentary down here you can read about the difference between. So this is another one is, okay, so focus on whatever problem there might be in this particular case. And with using the words you generated earlier, write 5 compelling Facebook ad headlines for this particular product or service. Offer the ideal customer are, and you put that in there, and the offer is whatever your offer is. For instance, if it's like a 2-for-1 one special, I mean, that might be one approach to it. Another one is, I like, you know, and you know what the number headline is. You know, it might have been number 3, for instance. Now write the copy to support those headlines, using a variety of proven ad copy frameworks, and write 5 versions. Well, this is kind of an interesting approach too, because if not only do you ask it to write the headlines, but also the supporting copy along with it. You could take this a step further, and you could actually use these for videos or ads or other types of things. For instance, you can say, so do it again, except make each script about a 15 to 30-second script. And I would say identify it as either or, because it, you know, the problem is that it'll do varied lengths, because much like in any of the social media, there's a 15-second burst that you want, and sometimes a 30-second burst. So in this particular case, you could say a 15-second script to be used for video. Write them in first person, you know, in the owner's voice, and also the business name. So those are the kinds of things that could create the kind of you know, engaging headlines just in a few minutes that you can create. So so to kind of move it on to another section, here's, you know, the area of content marketing. So for instance, like we did before, we said let's brainstorm some topics, and this is where you get the actual outlines from. So give me 20 unique titles. You know, we want to identify the thing, what type of content it is. let's talk about, maybe accounting practices, whatever it might be, or tennis tournaments. Give me 20 unique titles for whatever the niche is in a clickbait style, and then you can use different tones here as well to get the results that you're looking for, whether it's humorous or whimsical, professional, but I think it's good to try them out to see what you think. But and so an example was to give me 20 unique video titles related to small business accounting in a clickbait style. And you don't have to ask for clickbait, but like I said, it could be more clickable, and it's compelling titles that otherwise would may not be able to get you what you want. So it's up to you. So here's another step 2. Add all the good ones into a spreadsheet. As we talked about before, add what you have into a spreadsheet. Next is the outlining. Now create an outline for an article, and whatever the name of the article is, and write it as a professional, whatever it is, financial expert or car racing expert, and write it for this particular audience demographics. And the audience demographics is important because it really provides the level of detail that the prompt needs. And like what you were saying, Dan, and others here, the more details you give it, the more sophisticated it's going to become, particularly when you know your business so well. It'll actually create it much, much better than you had it. You can actually ask ChatGTP to delete a section and replace it with something else. You can switch the orders, things of that nature. But talk to it just like you're talking to a person. Okay, so step 4 for the content. Now write the article. The video script or podcast script in a certain tone, and insert a personal anecdote if it helps to illustrate the point. And then say, start with an introduction. And the introductions sometimes are really important because it gives that kind of context to what you want. And now, once you finish that, just like we showed before, instead of writing an entire context of a sentence, you could just say, now write the next section, and it'll remember what we did before. So the most important part is to make it human. And so when you go back into editing it by pasting it into the Google Docs or Word doc, you'll want to fix the errors, add your own personal stories, and you'll really find it to be a really useful piece of your own copy. The nice part about it is that it'll actually remember all the things that you have in your particular channel that you put this in. So later on, if you want to come back and actually add more to it, you can actually do that. So the other parts here are, here's how to get started on. To help me brainstorm 100 topics or Instagram Reels, Instagram captions, tweets, etc. I can make it for my business. You can speak to my demographics and audience. So you can see the whole piece here has a lot to do with that particular area of the demographics. There is one other aspect of it that I wanted to kind of go over, because I think some of this is kind of redundant here, but this actually follows along with what we went through before in the very beginning. There's a acronym called PAS, which is Pain, Agitate, and Solution. It's a copywriting framework, which it's much more persuasive and concise. And you can start identifying this to the reader so that you can actually so the reader fully understands what the full extent of the issues are. And this particularly is a more useful piece for convincing people to follow your lead, to trust your decisions, and that they can actually come to you for the final parts of all this, because ultimately you want to create customers out of it. So for instance, this one starts with, pretend you're an expert. This is your question to or point to ChatGTP. Pretend you're an expert marketing copywriter specializing in writing persuasive emails. Using the PAS copyright writing framework, write a small email and identify your customer, who you want, and and point out to their pain point. We can't wait to speak to them and help them decide if we're the best fit for them. And we offer these amount of benefits. Make it friendly and helpful in tone, not too salesy. Use powerful words and avoid overused cliches. The call to action is whatever your call to action is. So these are the kinds of things that you're talking about, Dan. You can fill it out more. You can put the pain points in, identify your audience, and also put even a call to action. And so that's about it. I mean, I think these are the types of things that, in terms of an experience that you go through, will determine whether or not if you're going to get what you want out of it. You could take this even further into the website and create more website copy. I don't have that information here, but you can only imagine that you can actually develop brochures. You can write headlines. You can write subject lines. And the good news is that when you experiment with these and you find out that it works, then you know that you can continue to do what you're doing. The one thing, if you don't do this, and you'll never really find out whether or not if you're getting any results at all. I mean, you got to continually. Your customers really want to hear from you, and I think the idea of adding value to what you're saying and giving away information is the real key to building loyalty and trust. Always asking for the order is not a really good thing to do, but being there ready for somebody to buy is always there. They always know you're trying to sell them something. At least you're there to be helpful for that. So hopefully you found this to be helpful. Is there anything in that particular last piece that helped? I mean, were you familiar with any kind of the copywriting techniques that you've been using? I know that there's a lot of styles of copywriting out there that people have used in the past, whether if it's like from the old Ogilvy Mathers type of ad agency types.
Right. Are we feeding in the pain points, or is this something that ChatGPT is automatically generating?
No, that's yours.
Right.
Yeah, you know what people want. I mean, you could also give a demographics and then ask them maybe what the pain points of, let's say, first-time home buyers might be. You know what I mean? And then because it's also a good research tool for that. And if you don't agree with it, you just tell ChatGTP, better luck next time, or but I think it's one of those tools that you build your own database of stuff, and you can actually find out what you learn as you go along. I know, like for instance, Richard. I mean, I know I've worked with you before. You're much more of a hands-off guy, and you like handing things off to people. And so I think in this particular case, it would be better for you to do the research for them, because when you give people direction, it makes a big difference if you give them enough information to go by. Then you'll be more satisfied with what you want to get out of it. When you work with people offshore, is another issue. Their language skills are not very good in terms of using English. This will probably help them in some regards, but you still have to be able to get the context and the accuracy right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because I'm doing too many things, so I can't, do it myself.
Oh, is it?
But yeah, that's why I dish it off.
Well, I know that Glenn too. You're much more of a hands-on guy. You tend to be, learning like a lifelong learner. I mean, so you look like you're really able to really take this.
Yeah, but I'm also smart enough to bring in a team that's going to do this. So for me, there's a couple things going on in our business, and you just happen to hit the nail on the head on the last two, which is a CRM and ChatGPT. But I don't have a great interest in handling all this directly. I can certainly sort of take it and say, let's implement both of these, and that's the game plan, right? I don't have the bandwidth to actually, again, it's an incredible tool. I just got to get it to the people that already know how to use it and apply it to our business. So you have me at hello. But I'm not the guy to run either one of those.
Yeah. But you are a content expert about what you do, and I would think that just from a standpoint of a thought leadership,
Mhm.
you know, it'd be good for you to be able to create those from a blog standpoint.
All right.
So I wouldn't discount your role here. In fact, you're probably the most important person to be able to guide that.
Right.
Because otherwise you're just going to get like the same old stuff, right? That people can dig out of what other people say. So, and particularly if you have a particular voice in this area, I know Dan, you're really particularly good with the point of sale stuff. I mean, you've been doing that for I don't know how many years, but is that the primary area you're focusing on?
Yeah, so my retail background at Bank of America was almost 7 years. That's where the POS mostly dealt with most POS systems. More recently with my business now for the last almost 7 years, has been more on the e-commerce online platforms, invoicing platforms. That's mostly who my clients are now. That experience or that promotion is where I really am now. I think everybody that has a website should have a payment portal of some type on it. I think that there's an ease and a more confidence for customers that when, in particular, we'll say home service providers, electricians, contractors, plumbers, of all, anybody that comes in your home to do kind of work is writing down a credit card number and taking it back to their office or calling it into an office. I think I think that's a very antiquated way to do it. I think in general that small business owners don't realize that they have the same tools available to them as large businesses, and they need to take advantage of those systems and those platforms, those systems, and that includes this ChatGTP, by the way. But those systems and those platforms to look more professional, to appear bigger than they are, right? And one of those ways is, sending invoicing with a payment portal on it, instead of writing down credit card numbers, calling it into an office, and then the confidence of a customer to be able to type in their own credit card information, which, to be honest, most of us have saved on our phones anyway, where it just takes something like an eye verification or a fingerprint verification to fill in all those payment form that information for a payment form. You're taking the onus away from the operator, and giving it back to the customer, where the confidence level then becomes much higher. And that's really where my website development, social media, full circle kind of thing really developed a few years ago. Coming at the beginning of the pandemic, when cash became we'll say less prominent as a way to take payments.
Right.
That's where I'm going, where I've been, and that's where integrating into websites, invoicing, payment platforms, payment pages on websites. That's really the direction companies gone, and will continue to go as less and less cash is taken.
Yep. No good. We're out of time right now, but Dan, that's actually a really good wrap up, and also probably a good story that you might want to get the transcript from here and write a little thought leadership piece on yourself on that. So those are pretty good. And then Daniel as well, we didn't get a chance to really talk too much about what your business was, but you might want to give like a 30-second elevator pitch here just to end it all.
Yeah, no, I do investment planning, portfolio management, investment planning. I've been independent for about the last five and a half years or so. And this particular talk this morning actually is really helpful, because I like to be hands-on with what I'm sending out marketing wise, because there's a lot of, this industry is so regulated, and there are a lot of approved marketing agencies, and the stuff sounds really canned, but I don't have the time to write, and I like to write. So this is a helpful tool.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. And just one final thing with Glenn, do you think that this will help your customers or your business?
Oh yeah, it was in like it'll be obscene. So when we have this conversation, I would say by the end of the first quarter, our use, because we have so many use cases in our business, and so tracking them through our CRM is a critical sort of must have, and what we can apply to that database, right? Both current customers, prospects, referral sources, all that. Yeah, 1000%. I just got to get it organized where I appreciate being the thought leader on it, but at the end of the day, I can't run this day to day and the things that we want to do around it. But that's the game plan anyway.
Yeah, well, that's an underutilized area,
Yeah.
thought leadership, honestly. So I think that probably would be something that maybe we all could talk about this again here soon. But we're out of time. But let's circle back, and we'll have a little postscript meeting after all this
Thanks.
too.
You're going to send out that last PowerPoint.
Yes, I'm going to send that out. Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you for what you're doing, Tim. Appreciate it.
Okay, you're welcome. You all have a good afternoon or morning and afternoon. We'll talk to you later on.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thanks. Okay, bye-bye.